there's the word bullying for every kind of interaction, but there are some specific medical terms, right, when it comes to this. Like, how do you determine whether it's really bullying or if it's just, kids being kids?
Right. Well, I think the difference between something like conflict, general conflict, and bullying, conflict is like a situational disagreement between kids. It's usually isolated and involves something that's happening that day in the classroom setting. Whereas bullying is repeated, it's intentional, and involves a real or perceived power imbalance. And so I think obviously a hurtful comment can be harmful, but when we're noticing pattern behavior, that's where a red flag should strike.
At what age do you think is appropriate for us to talk with our kids about bullying in general? Whether just being kind to your classmates, but also how to detect it if it happens to you.
Yeah, I think we should start as young as possible, and this happens, I think, like in natural, organic situations. Right. So if we're seeing a small kiddo that might be 3 or 4 saying something that could be perceived as hurtful to another child, then we might point that out to our child and say, this is not something we would say because that might be hurtful or harmful to us. And we can help the child understand that by situating it and making it a little bit more personal to them. Like how might you feel if someone made a comment about your hair or about your clothing? And how might that affect you the next day? So that teaching can start pretty early.
How can us parents actually see the changed behavior in our kids? Like, what are some of the telling signs of your child being bullied?
Yeah, I think really any sudden behavior change for your child is important to look out for. So any school avoidance, any changes in appetite or behavior, any like complaints of headaches or stomach aches before school are important to note. And kids might be more irritable, but I know that's a little bit hard to distinguish for our teens who just are naturally going to be a little bit more irritable. But really any sudden changes in behavior are important to be conscious of.
So as a parent, you want to make sure that your kids feel supported, they feel safe, you're protecting them. At what point do you think a parent should step in and say, hey, and alert school officials, my child might be going through something? Although I will say, I think schools are doing such a great job with bullying and talking to kids and coming up with different programs and just conversation at school already. So,
yeah, I think really at the earliest stage possible, it's important to document. So if parents can get screenshots of any text messages or any cyberbullying on social media, document dates, document any evidence of changes in your child's behavior. All of those things are going to be important, and I think sharing this with the person at the school who's most close to the situation, like the teacher, a grade level administrator, or a school counselor, is going to be really helpful. So the earlier the better, because we want kids to feel like they're being protected and not sort of ignored, and this harm is being allowed to continue.
And we know that bullying doesn't just end at the playground or a classroom. It can happen online, especially now. So can you kind of help us navigate that, social media online bullying?
Yeah, cyberbullying is really harmful. Yeah. It doesn't, it follows the child home. It doesn't go away. And so what happens is kids are not finding any relief from cyberbullying. And so it tends to be a bit more harmful because it's more pervasive and long lasting than general bullying. What I would say is one thing to keep an eye out for is if your child is showing sort of immediate signs of distress after phone use, that's an important note.
If, based on your expertise and experience, what would you like to see schools doing more of to really tackle this topic?
Yeah, like you said, I think schools are doing a lot, but more schools could continue to champion the approach, support, report, and don't join. And this just means teaching kids how to support and check in with kids that they see being bullied, teaching other kids to report the bullying instead of leaving the onus on the child who's being bullied, and also teaching them not to join in on this. And so if that's cyberbullying, that means not liking, not reposting, not commenting under it, which could amplify the harm.
That's great advice. Dr. Maxie-Moreman with Children's National, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.